Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Off the Rails podcast. I'm your host, Gregory Santos Brown, or formerly known as Gregory. And with me, finally, after 2 weeks of no guests due to storms and due to personal things happening, I have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Uh, my name is Rick.
Your name is Rick.
Yes.
All right, well, welcome to the podcast, Rick.
Thank you for having me. It's a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Oh, thank you for saying yes and agreeing to be here. We're currently filming in my car right now because let's just say the locations that I usually record did not really match, and we're gonna eat and have a soft drink after this, or at least I will. Um, and hopefully he won't get too drunk. But yeah, Nick, Rick. So what would you say? What would you like to talk about? Is there anything like in your life that, like a story that you want to talk about that you feel like deserves some listening?
No, I would say this being your podcast, you are the driver. I'm the passenger. So you guide, I will follow.
Okay, sounds good, Nick. I mean, Rick. Fuck. Sorry, I had a different guest, and your names are pretty damn similar.
I
Um,
got you. It's okay.
thank you. No, yeah. Personally, I've known you for a decent bit of time. We usually joke around about possibly not so appropriate things sometimes at work, but we keep it professional.
Right?
And you can get out of line sometimes, but I as the more professional person have to correct you and lead you on to put you on the right track, or put you back on the right track. You have any comments about that, Nick?
Well, being slightly off guard, yeah, a little bit off guard because this is a new thing for me, but uh,
No, no, no worries, man. Would you like me to
you can
be?
edit this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I probably won't because this is really funny. But don't worry.
Sweet.
Like, if you because I get like first time can be a bit weird, but I just let me know, like, if you really want me to be like the driver here. I
Yes.
yes, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Well,
sweet.
all right. I have one suggestion.
Okay.
Where do you stand on modern feminism?
Ooh, modern feminism. Sorry. So we actually are the first official episode that I did with a couple of people. My fellow co-hosts. One is having to step down for personal reasons. We wish her the best, and the other one is we might have him on next week. We actually talked about this,
Okay.
and we talked about how the modern feminism is actually not what it should be. It's not like, I mean, like, it's not what it used to be in terms of like quality and what it really should be, like what it really should stand for. Um, like, the feminism back then was more about equality and making sure women and men were treated the same, and now it seems sometimes people are using it to make it so women have like a step up over men. Like, I see a lot of
Right.
people that are pro feminism being like, yeah, I want to have the same privileges and same opportunities as men, and I'm like, okay, cool. But then, as I'm watching the clip, they go, like, the guy who asked them a question is like, okay, would you be down if, like, a ship is sinking, if you letting the children go first, but then it's a mixture between men and women, or something associated to this situation, and they usually go, "Oh, no, 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 no! I am a woman, and I should go with the children."
Yes.
I think that's a bit unfair, because if you want the privileges, you should be able to pay for them. Like, nothing really comes free.
Right. It kind of seems like, in terms of modern feminism, women want to use it to their advantage sometimes when it's convenient for them. But then, um, if something happens, for example, I was watching another YouTube video, and it was a nightclub scene. A woman was wearing a dress, and she was dancing in front of a guy, but she had one leg up in the air, and she was dancing, with her cooter in some guy's face, and the reaction on his face was like, "When is she gonna stop?" But um, if a guy had done that, um,
Oh my
she would
god.
have played the victim card. Does that make sense?
No, like
Okay.
honestly, like I was pretty on board with what you were saying, but then you said, "What if a guy was doing it?" And in my mind, immediately went to like that guy would have been in jail right now.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. That
uh,
that's kind of my point. Like, so the point with like women kind of like to play both sides on
mm.
the modern front, like when it's convenient for them.
Let's say some women do.
Yeah. Not
I
not
like,
all,
yeah,
but
not
some.
all, yeah, because even like accidentally, or even like some people do say every woman does this, but I personally believe that, or I would like to believe that it's it's 50-50,
Yeah.
some women do understand, and some women are like, listen, I understand that, like say like in sports, right? Some women were complaining that they were not getting paid as much as men, but it's sports, is entertainment. You get paid as compared to the money that you bring. But if women had more spectators and were bringing more money to the sports than men, then women should be more paid than men, and vice versa. um, but yeah, I think your example is a really good one, because I was thinking like, yeah, like if that was happening to me, I'd be weirded out and I probably would just walk away. But then when you mentioned the fact or the possibility of that the genders being swapped, that guy would have been like, he would have a criminal record for the rest of his life for like sexual assault and shit. But if a guy
Yeah.
does that, he's seen as like weak, or whatever, or and the woman, some women will sometimes just take advantage of that,
Yes.
you know.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the sports aspect of the point you were making?
Yeah, like a couple of years ago, or I think it's still going on, like like women's soccer, they were saying how they should be getting paid as much as men. um Now, I'm gonna be honest. I've not done too much research into this. I used to think, like they should be getting paid the same. But then I was watching this video that was like, and a comedian, Bill Burr. Do you know him?
Yes.
He's my favorite comedian of all time currently. He did like a joke about it, and I, I agree with him. Like, if sports is an entertainment thing, if you bring no fans, you shouldn't get paid money, or as much money as like someone who does bring more fans and more
Uh-huh.
people, and you sell jerseys and all that. So I'm pretty sure still, even though the men's soccer is like, the quality is bad, and the women's soccer in America, I think we're pretty like at least top three, a number one for most of the time, or at least used to be. I still think that men's soccer is a bit more popular and brings more fans, or at least it did like last year or 2 years ago, as far as I know. So I don't think equal pay in terms of sports could ever be a thing, because that would mean like that you were bringing the exact same amount of money. So I think one gender would always be paid more. But I think it makes sense, because if you're bringing in more money for the team and the club, you all should be getting paid more money.
Well, um, for me, I kind of like in my head, I separate um, skill versus. Um, uh, I'm not sure what the right way to word this.
Like a skill
Um,
versus like payment.
so skill versus entertainment value, I guess,
Okay.
as you were kind of saying.
Hmm.
Maybe not word for word how I'm saying it, but like you mentioned men's soccer. I feel like there's probably a lot more skill involved. Not to say that women's soccer they're not skilled. Obviously they are,
Hmm.
but if you're going to mention like the entertainment value, I could see why some men might watch um, maybe for their like women's soccer, for example, like maybe um, for the uniforms. and I kind of have seen that on YouTube with other sports, like pole vaulting, um, women like
So just watching it for like the wrong reasons, pretty much.
yeah, which is gonna um, cause a lot more fans. Some are there for the skill, some are watching for the uniforms. There's a lot of attractive female athletes. Um,
Of course.
Maybe they have looks and skill. So I could see some making more for the, some are bringing in more money because their uniform looks good, but they have skill too. But hopefully that makes sense. If I need to elaborate, let me know.
Yeah, I do have
I'm
one.
kind of in agreement with you.
Oh, okay, okay, good. So I do mostly understand what you said. I'm a little bit confused on the aspect of like. So are you saying that like that in terms of like the you said that obviously some people, some like more men than women, would watch a sport just to look at like the person's or like what they're
Well,
wearing,
yeah,
like,
I
right?
mean, yeah, some men are watching it, just for the women's uniforms,
Right.
whether it's soccer or another sport. Whereas, you know, some people are generally
Oh, I see. Okay.
genuine soccer fans.
Right. So you're saying um that like in terms of skill or even entertainment value, it's not always just like the skill of the player, but also like even if it's like a minority, it may also bring other people that don't really care about the sport itself as much as they just want to see certain people in
Yeah,
certain wear, pretty much.
yeah.
Okay. So how do you think that connects to the pay again?
So, certain female athletes, depending on the sport, um, I can't speak for soccer, but I see a lot of, for I don't know why, but for some reason, women's pole vaulting and the type of uniforms they wear. And I don't know what type of uniforms women's soccer wear, but I could see why some of them might make more money than others that have less skill, but the ones that have the same skill, maybe, or whatever,
But their looks are a bit different.
their looks are, they
Right.
might bring in more money,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which
because
is yeah.
skill alone isn't always a factor.
No.
It's definitely, there's an aspect to some people and some athletes.
I mean, how do you think OnlyFans
Yeah.
became such a big thing? You know, and
Oh,
like,
don't
it,
get me started on OnlyFans and feminism. That's a whole other thing.
sounds like you have a lot to talk about with that, Nick.
I
I
have
mean,
watched a lot
fuck,
of
Rex.
other
Sorry,
podcasts.
dude, I've been calling people the wrong names, dude. My bad. I'm not.
I did a bad job of picking a separate name, but no one's gonna know who I am anyways.
God dang it,
It's
dude.
okay.
Fuck. Um,
Just let it roll. It's okay.
you sure?
Yeah.
Are you really sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, sorry. What were you saying? As I was getting mad at myself for forgetting it again.
I'm not sure what direction I would want to go with it
Oh, in terms
on
of the
your
OnlyFans.
podcast, but I have watched a lot of other. There's so many podcasts on YouTube that talk about modern feminism and OnlyFans.
Dude, I think it's like I think it's a pretty big oh my God. No, it's a pretty big fucked up thing to like for women to say that like you know, let's say there's a sport that men are bringing in more money than women and the men are getting paid more and then the women complain. It's like, okay, but how about OnlyFans? Like, do you think that like on the top 10 most grossing people on OnlyFans, nine are not 8 or 9 are women. So because why? Because they're bringing in the more money. They're getting more people to subscribe to them, hence they're getting paid more. Men and other men or men in general are not bringing as much money in OnlyFans as women are overall. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So that's kind of the same thing as saying that and I'm pretty sure for some women, if you bring up the fact that like, oh, okay, so should men be getting paid the same amount of as women on OnlyFans if they only bring like 1/10 or 1/5 of the amount of people that the women do? And some of them may say, "Oh, no," because that would be unfair to the woman.
right.
You know. So
Um, in strictly speaking, as far as OnlyFans, um, it's no surprise that women would bring in more money.
yeah, of course.
But I guess I can't compare it to sports in my own head.
Mm. I mean,
But
just in terms of like, women bring more money than men, so they get paid more. So not like I'm not comparing the whole thing. I'm just comparing the aspect of like, and on one side, men bring more money, so they're getting paid more, and women bring less money, so they're getting paid less.
in
Maybe yeah, maybe
sports,
not overall, but like at least a good chunk of it. And on the other side, we have another thing, OnlyFans, where women bring more money and
right?
men bring less money. So and that makes sense. So
Yes,
women get paid more, men get paid less in OnlyFans because men usually bring less money than women. And someone saying that that's unfair to be like, oh, to say that men should be getting paid as equally as women, even though they don't bring as many people, while saying that in sports that should like that should happen. Like, oh, women don't bring as much money as men, so they should be getting paid the same.
well, I guess it basically comes down to so sports is a business, OnlyFans is a business.
Yeah,
So
there
it
you go.
just makes sense in my head that giving the respective businesses, whoever brings more customers
Yeah,
is going to make more money.
yeah, yeah. Which
Um,
should be
and
how a business works.
yeah, I guess in that particular example, that's my best answer
Okay,
for
good.
that.
No,
That
I
makes
think
the
it's a pretty
most
good
sense
answer.
to me.
No, no, that's a pretty
Yeah, putting
good answer.
equality aside and double standards and all that.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be maybe some, at least one sport where women bring as much money as men, or about as much money or more money, and they get paid less. That should be fixed. But in the overall term, if a specific gender or person brings more money than others, they should be getting paid more money. You
Yeah,
know. But yeah, and going back to the feminism. Um, like I definitely think that there's still a bit of inequality in terms of like pay and treatment of like the genders, but I think it went from trying to find a balance to some people wanting what men have, in quotes, if not more, while not wanting to do the things that men do. Like men have to wait until women and children are on the lifeboats in order to be able to go. And I heard someone saying, "Oh, because the children may need the mother more than the father, or something like that." And I was like, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Like,
yeah,
it's a 50-50. Like a child being raised without either or, he's gonna have some benefits by being raised with one than the other, but he's also gonna be missing the other aspect of being raised with the other. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Automatically speaking, uh, having just one parent raise a child is going to put them at what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry.
You're fine.
It's
Take your
going to
time.
put them at a disadvantage.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, that's why it would obviously be if both parents could be there, but
Yeah.
yeah, to have somebody say that um, they're going to benefit more from one parent versus the other, it is kind of naive.
Extremely. I find that extremely stupid because I definitely see a lot of people out there that could benefit or could have benefited. It obviously was not in their control. It's not really their fault. But overall, like technically speaking, they could have benefited from the other parent being there.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, it's not their fault. It's not always the case. But if you're talking just in a technical way, they could have benefited from having both parents raising them. It helps
Yes.
the parent with stress. It helps everyone with stress, depending how the relationship is. But yeah, a
A-
mother could, yeah,
any child raised with both parents is going to be better off um,
potentially better off. Would you say?
than just having one. Yeah,
Right.
potentially better off.
Because I definitely think there are some families out there where a child is raised by one parent and compared to one that was raised by two, and the one that was raised by one becomes like a better person in general.
Yeah,
But potentially, yes,
yeah,
the potential with both
you're right.
parents is much higher.
Potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, potentially, there's no doubt in my mind that potentially it's definitely
Um, can I throw in a random
dude. This is
factor?
dude. This podcast is called
How
Off the Rails, dude. Do
how do
what
you
you gotta
feel
do.
about a child raised with uh, let's say two parents, but like let's say a lesbian couple versus a gay couple,
Oh,
two
two.
or
Technically speaking, two females.
or like another situation like a polyamorous situation. I'm not sure if you know what that is.
Is it the one that one person has more than one partner?
Yeah. So like say a wife might have two husbands or a
Oh
husband with two
Jesus.
wives or one
Uh,
versus the other.
so I think with the homosexual relationships or marriages, I think that can be fine. I think that can be as good, better, worse. Like I don't think it really would make that much of a difference. Obviously, by having two females and two males, even though you're having both parents, you're kind of missing the aspect of male female contrast, like a child having both genders raising him or her. But I still think it can be very fine. I've heard of. I think I've known some people that were raised by two parents of the same sex, or I've read stories, and they usually end up, they have good stories, bad stories. Now the polyamorous one to me is a bit different. I think the polyamorous relationship or marriage can really, it can be a bit, in my personal opinion, it can be bad for the child, and here is why I think that. Because personally for me, I like to believe that I'm a really loyal person, and I would only like to date one person. So just the aspect of like being raised thinking that dating multiple people is right, like, and you can say, oh, but the three people, like two husbands or two wives or whatever, they all consent to it, they all want this and that, but the child doesn't, like, the child is a child. It's gonna, it may not fully understand the concept of that fully until it's fully grown. So the child could be like 13, 14 years old and think that dating multiple people, like cheating on their boyfriends or girlfriends, is fine, because they don't understand the concept of like, it's kind of rare to have a relationship where the person is fine having like a woman is fine having her husband having like another wife, but most, I think, and now are we saying like polyamorous so that like everyone is agreeing to being there? Okay. Because yeah, so as I was saying, like the child could grow up thinking that, oh, so having multiple partners is fine. So I'm just gonna, have as many partners as I want, and there's nothing exactly wrong with that. But when you go into the aspect of cheating, or the aspect of like sexual transmitted diseases, it can really make for a potentially really bad childhood, and possibly even worse time when they're like a teenager or even an adult trying to get like a stable relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. How do you feel about maybe I should have like uh for example, kind of along the same line, but like not so polyamorous, but maybe um from a more so like sorry, polygamy standpoint maybe. Whereas it's not, I think so polyamory you're talking about like just partners, but like along the side of what they call polygamy according to some TV shows.
Mm.
where it's not you're not just you don't have multiple partners, but you have multiple wives. So maybe would you see the potential for eliminating um, the non-seriousness of it? Does that make sense? Like you, for example, you mentioned like when they're younger, they might see how like having multiple partners is a bad thing, or I mean, it's okay,
Yeah,
but it would have negative consequences.
potentially yes.
So if it's instilled from a younger age that um, it's multiple wives versus partners, so there's the seriousness of the partnership, for example.
Also, in terms of like the child would not potentially take relationships seriously
Well,
in that way.
they would learn the value of taking the relationship seriously without like um yeah, I'm not sure of how to explain it
So, are we
better.
talking about like the values of being loyal or of having that like the one-on-one connection?
Yeah, I guess you're taking away like the aspect of the multiple partnership, because
S-
like I feel like in a polyamorous relationship, you're like a person has just multiple partners, and it's not as it's serious, but it's kind of like a dude has multiple girlfriends or a girl has multiple boyfriends. Whereas a polygamy type situation, it's usually driven by religious beliefs. And
Also, like,
so you have multiple wives, or a wife could have multiple husbands, for example. So the child might not grow up with like the same negative connotations, like, or they would, like the individual relationships would taken more seriously because it's a husband wife situation versus like just a multiple partner situation.
right, right. So, so kind of like, so you're saying that it could potentially be taking away the quality of the aspect of a relationship, pretty much, like in terms of like quality versus
Well, I
quantity,
mean,
almost.
do you see like the potential for if it's polygamy versus polyamory, maybe it would be
So,
not have such a negative connotation?
I still think on the basis of it, you're still like technically having multiple people that you're
Okay.
seeing. Like the bases they are pretty similar, but in terms of like seriousness, one is just partners like a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? And the other
Yeah.
one's like the person is married.
Yeah.
I definitely think if it's I think either one can really mess up like a child's mentality and way of thinking in terms of relationship wise.
Okay.
But I definitely think the married one could be worse because some people they like multiple they when they're younger they would like try to date multiple people at once or just in general try to quote unquote enjoy their life. But then when you get older, you want to settle down with one person usually, right? So I think ruining that because like as I was saying, like one is more norm is almost is more normal in the society when you're like younger, like I said. But in terms of marriage, it's a more serious thing. It's a more it's more quality. It should be more. You should be looking for more quality than before. You should be more careful than before. So I think ruining that something that is supposed to be serious that even people who date around now may want to just want one person to be loyal to them in the future and marry them. Um, I think that destroying something that can be potentially so precious and necessary for many people's lives could be worse than having parents who just have like multiple like girlfriends and stuff because they at least they if they understand enough that where like it may not be as like that serious, it can be less impactful if they learn that oh this is supposed to be serious but they're still like marrying multiple people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the in terms of like a polygamous marriage uh or a polygamous couple that is married being raising a child could potentially be worse than the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, and honestly, um I think that speaking of values being taught by to children, many people have just been thinking like about children as like almost like achievements, like trophies that they can show off to people. You know, like they're being pressured to like have something meaningful or something that they can show to people that they did, so people can see them as something better. And I'm not saying everyone does it, but I think a number of people do it, and it becomes a thing where they become miserable because they might be too young or they may not be ready to have a child, but because of pressure, because of social norms, social society, they may just want to get one, and that instinct kicks in, like on your DNA potentially. That when you see that child, you want to protect it, you want to nourish it, and that may not be as much. That might be emotional, of course, but that may also have a really strong link to, like I said, the genetics of like, because if let's say if you had a child and you didn't feel connected to that being immediately, you wouldn't want to protect it, and the less you want to protect it, the less likely it is to survive, and the less likely your species is to continue to progress. So I definitely think that makes sense. Like some people that I said when I told them that I didn't want to have a child, they were like, "Oh, but when you see it, you fall in love with it." And I definitely do believe that people generally love their children. Some people may have like barely anything to do with DNA and genetics and evolution, but I do think in many cases that a chemical reaction of "I must protect this thing" coming from instincts of like uh, hundreds of thousands of years of instincts, in order to further progress the species and make sure that the species has a higher like ability to survive. um, I think that has really gotten in the way of, as I was saying, the quality of parents that are people that are ready to have kids. They want to have kids, and the kid, they have a pretty um, balanced life. Really, how do you say? Um, like they have a stable life, and the child would not have as many issues with stressed parents because of it. I feel like it used to be more like that, and now it's less and less. And that's why we're getting so many more issues with younger people that end up growing up in not so great ways because their parents really like we work in customer service, and sometimes I see these parents that really do care, that will play with their child, and maybe it's not like that at home, but at least on the outside it seems like it is like that. But I see some parents that like their kids are like running around, they're screaming, they're crying, and parents look like they just gave up, and the child is not even like 5 yet. So yeah.
Well, so yeah, I can see where you're coming from with those points. On the first one, it's definitely possible for someone to have a child that didn't want one, and then um, definitely fall in love with that child.
Of course.
Um, Sometimes children come along accidentally. Parents might not always have planned it, but then they could turn out to be great parents.
Oh,
But then you
absolutely.
have some parents that, like you said, they have kids because that's what's expected out of them, and then they end up being horrible parents because they weren't ready or they shouldn't have been. And those types of people should not have kids. And then,
They just ruin a child's life, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
and then you have, of course, like the ones that want kids and that's all they've ever wanted, and then they have kids and those kids turn out amazing. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, those are all very good points. And there's definitely a biological aspect to it. Um, I've even noticed that in myself. Like, for example, just when I drop, I have a son for the viewers that don't know. um,
Or listeners rather,
Listeners, sorry, yeah, if you, I'm thinking like YouTube.
One
Um,
day, one day.
um, yeah, for example, just dropping my kid off at school. preschool, um, I look at the other kids, and I think like what I would do to protect my child if, for example, like a mass shooter came up, and just not that they would pick off a preschool, but
Sometimes they would, dude.
if that happened, like I would protect my child first, and then as many kids as I could in between, and that's where the biology plays in with the thought process.
Yeah, and of course, like that doesn't mean that you're not a good person and that you're just following instincts. That can mean that you're a really good person, but in terms of, but it also could be connected to, like you said, the instincts of protecting the young so your species can live on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're gonna say anything else?
Not in respect to that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what direction to go at this point.
Oh,
I
dude,
don't think.
just leave that to me. No, but yeah, like personally, I never want kids, and I've been told over and over again, either by people that saying that like, oh, just wait until you're older, just give it a couple more years, whatever, just wait. And I'm like, okay, those people I can kind of reason with, like, okay, maybe they don't think I'm ready to have that decision, even though I already made it. But that's fine. I can deal with that. What I cannot deal with is when people say, wait until you have it. Because okay, fine. Let's say I'm not saying it's impossible that I wouldn't want it when I had it, but what if I have it and I don't, and I realize that I actually was right and I don't want it? Then what? Then I'm gonna be a miserable father to a kid who's probably gonna be miserable. So I'm ruining my life and I'm ruining the kid's life. And people may be offended by what I just said, but it is the truth, and you can deal with it.
Well,
uh,
it's a possibility. That's a tough situation
oh,
either
absolutely,
way.
yeah,
Nobody knows how they're gonna feel until they're in a situation.
exactly. But but I wouldn't want to risk it,
But
you know.
well, yeah, but yeah, you can speculate the crap out of anything.
Oh, of course, anything.
Um,
But until it happens, you can only be so sure until it happens.
yeah.
But yeah, like I personally never want kids. And and the people that have understood or have not, they are like, there's gonna be really tough to find a partner that doesn't want kids, right? Because many people want, and then have been told that it's actually an increasing number of
Well,
people
do
that
you
don't want
mind if I
kids.
ask you a question?
Oh, dude, go ahead.
Well, just from our conversations, you're somewhat religious, right?
No,
Oh, you're not.
I'm not really. I
Oh, okay.
It's not that I'm like an atheist. I just don't have a set religion. There's
Well,
values and
do you have
beliefs and
some belief that something happens when you pass away? It's not going to be
yeah,
just a dirt nap. Your energy or whatever happens, you're going to transform into something else, and then you're going to go somewhere.
or like heaven, like an
Yeah,
example. Yeah, absolutely.
like
Like
if you don't have to call it heaven, but you can call it
a
another plane.
potentially heaven.
Yeah.
Pretty, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like I have their beliefs in like a lot of religions have beliefs that I agree with, but
So, sorry, another question.
no, go ahead.
Do you believe in anything being predetermined, or do you?
So I'm the kind of person that when I believe in something, I believe in it 99.9%. I still believe in it. Like sometimes I will die for it, believing in it. But I always like to leave my mind open, not to be like a closed-minded person that thinks that
Right.
like, oh, like there, because I believe there's a possibility that when we die, we just die and we decompose and we just never exist again. Like
Okay.
that's a possibility to me. But I believe that I will go somewhere else once I leave this planet.
So I guess my what I'm building up to is if you believe what you do
Mm-hmm,
in respect to knowing exactly what you want, and you believe those other couple things to a certain degree,
mm-hmm.
then it's reasonable to assume that there might be um, another partner that's exactly the right match to a certain extent. So that person is out there. It's just a matter of them being found. So if that's all true, then in respect, you should be able to find that one that's going to have those same, exactly those same values, if that makes sense.
And like I mean like
So like you don't, if you know you don't want kids, hopefully there should be one that also doesn't want kids.
but then like and I really appreciate I really appreciate what you're saying. Though of course, you know, like it'd be more than like the person could have the same values as me, but we still don't. We're not a like a match made in heaven. You know, like I'm looking for my soulmate,
Right.
pretty much. And of course, like I believe that she's out there. You know, sometimes it can be tough to believe, but meeting some people like you know you and some others show me that it's potential that she's out there. And I actually want to answer one of your previous questions. If you asked me if I believe that if anything is predetermined, and my answer to that is I think it's a possibility that it is, but I think living a life thinking that everything is determined and that there's nothing you can do to change it is pointless. I think it's a pointless life to live, in my opinion. So I think that some things are, it's kind of like a it's almost kind of like a web, you know. Some things like, for example, if I punch you, um, I'm trying to think of a
Yeah,
good
to
example.
be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure why I kind of made that argument, because personally I don't necessarily believe in predetermined anything either.
Oh, okay,
But I guess I
that's
just
good.
meant to a certain degree,
Like you wanted to get
um
you wanted to get like to the
like
bottom of the.
there should, in theory there should be another person out there for you that wants the same things that you want, but how you meet might not be predetermined, but the how you, like, your journey to get to that person is up to you in a way. Does that make more
Oh,
sense?
absolutely. And like I think I'm a bit 50-50. So for example, like I think I have a pretty good example in my head. Let's say you are at the beach and you have a billion options. You can sit in the sand, you can run and sit, you can walk and sit.
Yeah.
You can raise your leg, you cannot raise your leg. You can go to the ocean, you cannot go to the ocean. You can swim 10 miles, you can swim 2 miles an hour, you can swim 5 miles an hour. Let's say you're at the beach and you have the option to go to the ocean or stay in the sand. And let's say you made the option that you went to go swim. And let's say that you stepped on like I don't know, like a crab, and the crab like pinched you and shit, right? That was not that was an action that had a reaction. You can say predetermined because before you did that, if someone could see the future 5 seconds later, he would be able to tell that if you did this, you would get this. But that doesn't mean that that was the only option you had. So I believe in the action reaction. You do something, it's gonna happen. It's like a chain of events.
Yeah.
It's like a road. If you choose one, the road's already built, but that doesn't mean that there's only one road. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have the option of choosing the roads.
You're doing a much better job of explaining what I was trying to put
Oh,
out
oh
there.
no, you're fine, man. Like sometimes I'm such a thinker that I will get lost in my own thoughts and forget what I'm thinking about or what why I was even talking in the first place.
Yeah.
But no, I think you made a pretty good ground basis for it. But yeah, I believe in like there's not just one road that like it's predetermined that I'm gonna do this exactly this and this and that, but it's predetermined. Like the actions that I do are not predetermined, but the consequences of those actions may be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, but yeah, and that's why I believe it's 50-50. There's a choice, there's a power of choice, but there's also some things like have you heard of the saying like some things you just cannot control,
Right.
and that's true. But some things you can, and some things you can't. That's what I think about in terms of um predetermination, pretty much.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, and you know, like I definitely would want to meet this person, and but I always think that I would rather, feel lonely or whatever than to meet her at the wrong time. You know.
Right.
which is it's kind of a sad. I like to call it like a sad hero thing in a way, or yeah, I, I call it like a sad hero syndrome or sad hero situation because you know that you want something really bad, but when you are to the point that you understand that the one of the main things you want right now may not be the best time for you to have. So you kind of accept that, you know, if it's not the right time now, that you don't want it. So pretty much like you don't want the one thing that you really want, just because you understand that it might not be really the best time. I think that I'm really proud of myself for getting to this point, and if anyone else out there is getting there or is on the similar boat, then I really do respect it because it's not an easy thing. Sometimes you just want and want and want, but to understand that, you know, like as a kid, you really want that candy, you really want to watch that movie, you want everything. But as you grow older, you understand that, you know, you have to work for this, you have to work for that. You may have to save money for something better. It may not be the best time for you to buy this or buy this movie or buy this toy or go get food right now, you know. But you really, even though you really want it, you understand that it may not be the best time, you know.
I completely agree with you. And I can just use myself as an example. I have always known that I wanted a family and I wanted to have children. Um, it happened a lot later than I would have liked for myself, but having it now, I certainly wouldn't have changed anything because I can appreciate it and respect it more now that I have it.
So you
Um,
wouldn't change, like, sorry to interrupt you, but you're happy with the decisions that you made in the past. Like even if you're not proud of them, you're still happy that they happened.
um, the I am happy with and regret none of the decisions that I've made in respect to getting myself to the family point that I'm at and the child that I currently have. Um,
Um,
there are other things that I've done in my life that I don't think had an impact in that particular uh, on those particular things
mhm.
that I definitely would do better.
Right.
Um, but in respect to the decisions that specifically got to where I'm at with, relationship wise and child wise, um, after having met my child and knowing how awesome he is, and those particular decisions I wouldn't change because, and like you said, it, yeah, it didn't happen how I wanted it to, but it happened eventually.
Do you think it happened the best way that it could happen? Like if it
Uh,
happened like a bit earlier or a bit later, it wouldn't be
no, I wouldn't say it was the best way, but it was the way that it happened. Um, and I don't know if I had any control over that, um,
fair.
or not. But
But you're,
I'm here now.
but you're happy with with how things turned out, pretty much.
Yes,
Are you happy overall right now in your life? Do you think?
that's a tough question. I'm gonna say family wise, yes. There's personal issues, but I'm not gonna go into those on this podcast.
Okay, no, that which is absolutely fine. I definitely want to respect privacy here. Um,
But I have a lot to be thankful for. I'll say that.
good, good. I think that's really important. You know. Um, now, if I may know, and of course, you know, if it is too personal, you don't have to answer. But are these personal issues are any of them part of the family situation?
No,
No. So
no,
the personal issues are outside of family, and
yes,
okay,
strictly personal.
okay, okay, okay. No, just out of my honest curiosity.
Yes,
Um,
which I will be 100% happy to delve into uh, other after.
okay, Oh,
Yes.
that sounds great. Like I said, in the podcast or outside of it, I never want to make someone talk about something that they're not comfortable with, even if it's something that I'm really comfortable talking about. I'm comfortable talking about like some like dirty sexual stuff, like it's just like
Oh,
talking about how your day is. Some people are take that as like a taboo. To me, I can just be open about it if I'm with certain people.
we can
But
get
yeah.
into anything like that. I'm okay with that.
Really, Nick?
All right. So, no.
Oh, you shouldn't have told me. You told that to the wrong person, boy.
Oh, I wish I had a good punchline to follow that.
Oh, my friend.
So,
Nick, can I ask you
uh,
some questions, Nick?
I'm just gonna throw something out there, but you know, it's okay to rock her with the spocker sometimes.
It's rock car.
The Vulcan shocker.
Jesus Christ, Nick.
It's not always about living long and prospering. That's a Star Trek
Oh
reference
my
for those
God.
that don't know.
I'm so glad, Nick, you're in this podcast. Jesus Christ. Can I ask you some questions on that subject, Nick?
Yeah.
And like I said, these are going to be rapid fire questions, and if you're not comfortable,
All right.
uh,
Rapid question, rapid answer.
oh, okay, sweet.
I'll try my best.
Yeah, we have about 7 minutes left on the recording or so. So okay, you might want to raise the window for this.
I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. Oh, I mean, for any other segment, I'll be fine. But this specific segment and the answers that you might give me,
All
I
right.
don't think you want other people knowing about this.
It's rock and roll.
Even though we're literally recording a public podcast, but let's just ignore that fact. Are you a top or bottom person? Like,
Bottom.
well, really?
Yep.
Do you have any specific reason?
There's nothing better than a couple of tiggled bitties right in your face. Reverse cowgirl. All I can say is catch.
Like you're giving me so much more than what I was hoping for, and it's great. You're giving me you went further beyond.
You wanted honest answers.
Dude, I'm really liking this, dude. Oh my god, you're like giving me like the decent, yeah, reverse cowgirl and to go bitties in my face. Oh fuck. Okay.
Can I put the window back?
Dude, I
No.
mean, if you're comfortable with talking about this, so sure. I can actually put.
All right.
There we go. So at least
Saying if
I
you've
guess.
been in that situation, you'll know what I mean,
Yes.
or you'll know someday.
Thanks, Nick, for telling everyone that I am a virgin. Actually.
Uh, I apologize. I did not know previous to this podcast.
You're fine. Like I don't care. Like I said, I'm comfortable talking about this.
But
If
you'll
most
want
people
to
ask,
talk about it. Believe me, when it happens.
oh, dude, I'll call you when it happens. I'll be like, yo, can we record a podcast episode next week? Yeah. Obviously not having any experience with that deep sexual experience. I would say I'm definitely just like out of guessing. I'm definitely a top person. I am really energetic and I have a lot of energy. As you may know, I'm really outgoing.
Yes.
And not that I like sometimes I'll be tired or whatever, and the other person might want to switch roles, then that's fine. Not switch roles in terms of like up top and bottom. Not many other things. Like God. But yeah, I definitely think I would be top for sure. Because of that. Okay. We got a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Jesus, that was a really you gave me such a good answer. That I'm thinking of like what other question do I want to ask you? Um. Okay. How 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 long does a uh how long does a Nicholas special session usually last?
Depends on how much you drink, or how long it's been.
Okay. What do you mean by the second one? Actually, like,
Uh,
does the time get shorter the more often you do?
man, It's hard to explain. Next question.
Okay. Good idea, Nick. I can wait until your wife hears this this podcast episode. Like,
She probably won't listen.
like,
I think I left out the part about the podcast.
yo, can you imagine like if one day when I hit big, she's like listening to this episode. Nick, you better be ready for that.
I'll be ready for it.
You'll be ready. Okay, okay. But yeah, how many minutes would you say?
Wait.
Like time, like
Oh, I've never timed.
never timed.
No.
Is it like would you say 10 minutes?
Similar question. Next question.
Okay.
Similar to the previous one. So next question.
Okay, Nick. Absolutely fine. Um, damn. Have you ever wanted to record yourself?
Yes.
Really?
Never have.
Never have, but wanted to.
Yes.
Is it something that that you got excited about?
I don't know the reason for it.
Okay. So it's just kind of like you think it could be exciting potentially.
Potentially.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, do you have any kinks that you like role play or like wearing a specific outfit and shit?
Next question.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. What is the weirdest thing you've done?
Next question.
Somehow these next questions are better than the potential answer. Um.
Little do you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
little do I know, indeed, Nick. Um. Have you ever done it in a public place?
Yes.
Where?
Hotel balcony.
Hotel balcony, like
Yes.
outside.
Yes.
You are savage, Nick. Have you ever done it in an airplane?
Next question.
Okay, dude. All right, dude. Are you comfortable with me keeping this going, Nick?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. We have
Are we
like
how much time do we have left?
we have like 2 minutes.
Okay. 2
Okay,
minutes.
so let's make this the last question, and I'm gonna make it a real good one. Have you ever going back to your one of your first questions to me in just situations about some stuff? Have you ever been in a have you ever had sex with more than one person at once?
Next question.
Okay. I'll need to get one more answer in.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make that like a little bit lighter. Have you ever? Well, have you ever had sex with a guy?
No.
Okay. Okay. I guess that at least okay. We got an answer out of him, folks. All right. So we were planning to record this for 45 minutes or so. It's almost an hour. 58 minutes actually. So see, Nick. It was your first time doing a podcast. You were a bit nervous, and you might still be, but I think you did a really great job at keeping the conversations going and bringing some interesting scenarios. And yeah, I just want to thank you for trying and for accepting to be here. You really, like, if it wasn't for you, I would have another week, third week in a row without a guest. And there's definitely some people that I wouldn't want to have, but I definitely, I'm glad to have you in it. So thank you very much for joining in, Nick.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I get the opportunity to do this in the future, and maybe we can collaborate on something and have an additional guest, so then I can give some spicy questions.
Okay, Nick, that sounds great. I would definitely love to have you on again. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about this. If you have any questions, please let us know. And of course, if you would like to follow us in our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, please do so. That would be very much appreciated. This has been Off the Roast Podcast, I believe episode 8. I'm pretty sure it is episode 8. I'm your host, Gregory. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time with hopefully another guest, which will probably be my fellow co host, um, Mr. Remy, next week. So please await that one. Pretty sure that's gonna be a bit of a nice heated one for sure. We have some spicy things that we've been discussing that we both would like to really talk about. So for probably the final time this episode, thank you for listening. Um, if you have anything to say, to question, anything to comment, please do give us a review on whatever you can, Audible or Spotify. If you'd like to comment on any of our posts, please do not be shy. I welcome any positive slash negative comment. Probably I probably will delete the super negative ones, but the some constructive criticism is always, in my opinion, in more ways than one, more than welcomed. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.